Hey, welcome into the Snap, your off-season content producer for rookie players coming into the NFL, and we're here today to talk about Jaylen Waddle, the Alabama stud wide receiver. I'm your host, Mack, joined as always by my co-host, Lando. What's going on, Lando?
Is he a stud, Mac? Is he a guy that you want to get on your Dynasty teams? We're going to go through everything today. Go through his accolades, college stats, get into the film room, what we saw in the limited time we actually did see Jaylen Waddle, and then you'll find out our verdict, how high we have him ranked in this class, what NFL comparisons we have. Mac has a bold one, and I can't wait to hear it. But I'm excited about Jaylen Waddle because you are very high on him, and I need to be convinced. So tell me, Mac, everything we need to know about Waddle.
Before we get into that, if this is the first time you've ever been to the Snap Fantasy YouTube channel, please consider subscribing, and liking the video goes a long way to keeping the lights on here. So what do we need to know about Jaylen Waddle? He is a 22-year-old wide receiver, a little bit of a later, more mature rookie. Was a rookie at 20 years of age, but 22 years old, 5'10", 182, is a junior and played alongside Dionte Smith, Henry Ruggs, Jerry Jeudy, Irv Smith Jr., Josh Jacobs, a really talented group of players at Alabama. So he's got that higher SEC pedigree wide receiver. He was the SEC Freshman of the Year in 2018, SEC Special Teams Player of the Year in 2019, First Team All-SEC in 2019, and Second Team All-SEC in 2020, despite only playing 4 games.
Yeah, Mac, this is pretty impressive. And when I jump into his college stats, what jumps out to me is his freshman production. He had 848 yards, a 12.8 target share, a 12.8% target share with that level of competition. Like you said, Irv Smith, Josh Jacobs, Jerry Jeudy, 80% catch rate all along.
Dionte Smith. Don't forget Dionte Smith.
Of course, Dionte Smith was there. What I love is his catch rate across every single year. It's over 80% catch rate. This guy doesn't drop the ball. Special teams yards is what is going to get him on the field at the next level early. 662 yards and 2 touchdowns in his 2019 season. I'm gonna say if he gets special teams work entering in the NFL in his freshman year or his rookie year, he's gonna be the best punt returner in the league right away, which is high praise. Now, his junior season, his last year, it says he played 6 games, but he played a couple games in the playoffs, really didn't get that much work. The 4 games he did play, he had over 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. He was dominant, Mac.
Yeah, we've brought the splits up before the first 4 games of the year, before he went down in week 5 on like the opening kickoff of the game. Jaylen Waddle was outpacing Dionte Smith in total yardage, same amount of touchdowns. The college dominator ranking, those first 4 games, had Jaylen Waddle ahead. I think it was by about 5%. Jaylen Waddle was on pace for the big season that doesn't exist on his resume. And that'll be some things that people hold against him. But we also know at the end of the day that the box score does not tell the whole story. And for me, Jaylen Waddle checks a whole lot of boxes, even though that big breakout wide receiver season never happened for him. But like Landon touched on, in his freshman season, he was second in production, just behind Jerry Jeudy, but ahead of Dionte Smith, ahead of Henry Ruggs, ahead of Irv Smith Jr., and that was factoring in Josh Jacobs, who got a pretty decent receiving workload as well. So that season to me is what I needed to see. And his breakout age is slightly older, but I think he brings a lot to the table. So I don't think I need to say much more. The box story here doesn't tell the story. But going into the film room, this is where I start to take things to the next level, really tell you why I love. But I'm going to give it over to Lando. Tell me some things that maybe you didn't like. Let's just reverse engineer this thing. What didn't you like about Jaylen Waddle?
I mean, you touched on it. He was never that guy. He always had other receivers there that commanded more targets. And I do think it had a lot to do with his final season injury. And the other question I have is going to be maybe some lingering effects from this ankle injury. We saw in the championship game him limping off the field. And that might be a lasting impression on yourself watching this video or your other league mates. Is he going to be okay? Is he going to re-aggravate this ankle? He's going to use the speed that we know he has. Is he going to be able to use it? Is he not going to be as fast after this bad ankle injury, Mac? Those are the kind of questions and concerns I might have with Jaylen Waddle.
And I think that that's totally fair. And that's kind of what we talked about with Rondell Moore, is like we didn't see him play 2 seasons, really, 7 games in 2 seasons. Jaylen Waddle, for me, I'm going to the film room. I'm going to what I did see. I know it's smaller sample sizes, and extrapolating that can be negligible, really. But for me, Jaylen Waddle is super bursty. Straight line speed might be best in the class. Like, he might be the fastest player in this wide receiving class. His ability to break away from defenders downfield is unbelievable. He's very versatile, like Lane had said. His special teams work in the return game is what might get him his initial opportunities, even though with the draft capital that Jaylen Waddle probably commands here, like a top 15 player, he's not going to need to rely on that to get opportunities, but he'll be used there, I think. Very developed route tree and secure hands. Like, what elevates him for me past a guy like Rondell Moore, who shares very similar athletic traits, is his ability to secure the ball away from his body, on the move, through contact, high pointing the football. I think Jaylen Waddle is very, very special. So he checks a lot of boxes for me watching film. I know the sample size isn't large, but I think he's been very, very impressive in the small spurts we've seen him.
Yeah, Mac, I was very impressed watching the film as well. And watching his highlights is almost like watching all of his film, and he showed that through his stats as well. So 60% of his snaps came from the slot. In the 4 games he played this season, he had 459 yards from the slot. What I like to see as well is that he had a 5.38 yards per route run. So when he's running routes, he's getting targeted. He was the second highest in college football, only behind Dionte Smith. So that's very, very impressive. The third guy didn't even get 4 yards per route run. So that's the difference maker that Jaylen Waddle has. Now, we might have questions about, is he just a slot receiver? Well, no, he could run outside as well, and he can get those deep balls. According to PFF, on deep ball targets, he had 329 yards of deep ball targets. That's 20 or more yards down the field, and that was 12th in the country by only playing 4 games. So, again, extrapolating can be dangerous sometimes, but could you imagine the kind of deep ball targets he would get finishing that entire season? It could have been incredible.
It could have been the last cherry on top for Jaylen Waddle. He might have been a higher ranked wide receiver in your rankings with that big season. So player comparisons at the next level, it's tough. This is a really tough one. I think we've seen the Tyreek Hill comparison go around for several players. As Landon said, this class is very fast. However, I think if any player from this class profiles of Tyreek Hill, it is Jaylen Waddle. They're both 5'10", about 185. Tyreek Hill didn't have the college career that Jaylen Waddle had. Tyreek Hill was a 5th-round pick. He had some trials and tribulations as a younger man, but you see when someone profiles that athletically and gets the right opportunity, he can be extremely special. And I think Jaylen Waddle shares a lot of characteristics as Tyreek Hill. I think if he goes somewhere like the Chargers, for example, at 13, that could be a great landing spot, pairing him with Justin Herbert for a very long time, being that downfield threat that the Chargers haven't had. Mike Williams is that, but a speed guy, man, put Jaylen Waddle in that system, and I guarantee you he could finish as the wide receiver 1. So I got Tyreek Hill as my comp. I know it's a little bit high, but as a prospect, Jaylen Waddle was strides ahead of Tyreek Hill.
With the ball in his hands, he looks like Tyreek Hill. I'm not going to lie about that. But my player comparison might not be as high. And it's really tough. So I've got Dionte Johnson. They're right about the same size and weight. And Dionte Johnson was a 3rd-round pick. Again, we're projecting Jaylen Waddle to go in the 1st round, no doubt. But I can see them being a similar role playing in the NFL. But the better thing about Jaylen Waddle is he doesn't have the drop issues that Dionte did. This past year was terrible for Dionte, and he got benched for a while because of his drops. Really, Jaylen Waddle, to me, I know it's tough. He's a faster and more secure version of Dionte Johnson, which is it's still a big compliment to Waddle, I think.
Agreed. Yeah. I don't mind it. The drop thing is something that's killed Dionte Johnson.
Yeah.
Athletically, I think he's strides ahead, but I get it. I could see some characteristics, some similarities there for sure. Yeah.
So, unfortunately, Mac, I have Jaylen Waddle as my wide receiver 6. And it's really based on the concerns I had. I haven't seen him play lately. I liked what I saw from other players like Rondale Moore and Terrace Marshall. So, I have him as number 6, but he's still in that second tier for me of these wide receivers, just behind Jamar Chase. What about you?
Yeah, that's fair. I think so. For me, he's the wide receiver 3. And if you're a longtime listener to this podcast, you know that I've had Jaylen Waddle very high in my rankings for a long time. He I think is in the upper tier with Chase, Bateman, and himself. Waddle, I think he does separate himself from Rondale Moore for ball security, for straight line speed. I think he's just a better wide receiver. And they do have very similar injury concerns. But he's in the upper tier for me. I think he could be really special. He's got that high ceiling, and I don't know what more to tell you. I think sky's the limit for this guy if he goes to the right spot. Like I said, the Chargers probably going to be the thing that moves him up. Landon, if he lands with the Chargers, where does his ranking change for you?
Man, if he lands with the Chargers, he might be my wide receiver 2. He might jump Rashad Bateman, who I love. He might but for me, it doesn't matter about Jamar Chase. But if Waddle goes to the Chargers with Herbert, man, that is a match made in heaven, and he would probably be my number 2 based on the talent, the upside, the ability. What I saw in limited sample, he would be my wide receiver 2. That'd be wild.
Rashad Bateman is so interesting because he could be I think the safest wide receiver in this class for his size, his ability. But Jaylen Waddle, I think, has, if not the same ceiling as Jamar Chase, even higher. So Jaylen Waddle's right up there for me. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you know all you need to know about Jaylen Waddle going into your rookie drafts in 2021. Please feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. Let us know in the comments below your thoughts on Jaylen Waddle. Where do you have him ranked? Where would you be willing to take him in your Dynasty startups this coming offseason? So stay tuned to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.